Welcome to the Spiritually Lit meeting. Each week, we're honored to host powerful speakers from around the world, sharing their stories, experiences, and hope with us. All of our speakers are recorded and shared through our Enogram YouTube channel and our audio speaker WhatsApp group so the message can reach those who need it. If you're listening to this recording and you're struggling, seeking help, or simply have a question, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can contact us anytime at spirituallylit24@gmail.com, and we promise to get back to you. Tonight, we've invited J.S. to share on the topic, the root of our troubles, for the next 40 minutes. After that, the meeting will be open for sharing back. Jay will give you a sign 10 minutes before the time's up. And deep thanks for making the time and coming on and sharing your experience with us tonight. With that, I'll hand it over to you.
There we go. Hey. Hello, everyone. It's Jay, an addict. And I can't tell you how delighted I am to be with you this morning here in I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. And some of you were here for the World Convention just a few short weeks ago, but it's hot and but it's not the kind of heat that we knew when we were withdrawing. And so this is a really wonderful topic. So if you're counting days or minutes or seconds, I can tell you from my experience that there is no situation that I can be involved in personally, psychologically, emotionally, relationship-wise, that cannot be made worse by picking up. And it's really important to understand that one of the great things that the fellowships have done is to create this thing called the sobriety date. Now, many people that don't understand that concept, they think of it as like a shame date. Oh, I've relapsed and then I've come back and it's some bad. But without making a line in the sand, without making a commitment to myself, I can rationalize myself in and out of the rooms for decades. Now, I'm fortunate enough that I came to you on the 2nd day of May in 1979, and I found it necessary on a lot of occasions, but I haven't taken the front drink. I haven't sniffed any glue. I haven't done any of those other things that I found to be so consoling. So for me, the fellowship has worked extraordinarily well. And the reason I say that is that I believe what I did prior to meeting the fellowship was I drank and used my soul away. Now, you'll have to forgive me. I'm old, and I actually got clean prior to the existence of Cocaine Anonymous. Cocaine Anonymous is an expression of the higher power that had not come into being prior to my coming to the fellowship. So when I say drink or whatever, just know that it means whatever, okay? But that prior to my coming to be with you, I had completely removed anything that makes a human being from my personality. And I didn't do that willingly. I grew up in an alcoholic home. And no big deal. A lot of people do that. And I was the short guy. I don't know if you remember the short guy. I can't throw the ball as far, I can't run as fast. But I found out something that I could do really, really better than guys that were bigger and tougher and stronger than me. And I didn't realize that what this was an aspect of an illness, this addiction that we have. Now, what happened for me is that at about 12 years old, I actually was able to keep a couple of drinks down. And what happened for me at that moment is what in classical spiritual terms is known as the unitive experience. My mind, my body, and my soul were all in the same place at the same time. And if you grew up in the environment that I grew up in, that never happened. And it was so remarkable for me to feel that for the next 12 years, I pursued that with an enthusiasm that there was nothing in my life that even came close to, because nothing put my body and my mind and my spirit in the same place. Now, the first time I used different substances, that experience would be very, very remarkable for that particular, you know, I mean, and so when people from outside that don't have addiction, that don't have alcoholism, that don't understand, they go, "Well, how could you possibly do that? You're gonna lose her, you're gonna lose the job, you're gonna lose the kids, you're gonna lose everything." They don't understand, and they never will understand that at a cellular level, we have been made whole. Now, we've been made whole. It's an illusion that we are made whole. That some exogenous substance, something outside of ourselves, could actually bring a true spiritual experience. So it's a fake spiritual experience. So yeah, anyway, I have this, and of course I'm engaged with it all that I can possibly be, until what happened is the separation was so great that I couldn't stand it anymore. Now, this wasn't an awareness that I had. It was a confluence of events. You know, I got arrested again. I was out without a job again. I was totally tapped out. I was unable, and my grandmother said that I could come and stay with her. Uh, and the caveat was that I go to the 12 steps. And so I want you to understand, on the second day of May, before 12:30 p.m., I knew two things. I had to drink and I had to use. Anything else in my life is negotiable. We can talk about anything else in my life, but I got to drink and I got to use. And we can talk about all the other stuff later, but that was the reality of my being. And I'd known that, and I had sacrificed every relationship that I'd had, every job I'd had, every opportunity I'd had, every gift that I'd ever been made. I mean, I hit the lottery. I was born male, Caucasian in California in the 1950s. There is no greater lottery you can hit. And with all of that, What I'm doing is I'm living in a Pinto, which was a smart car that Ford made for alcoholics back in the 70s. Anyway, I walk into this meeting, and what happened is when I walked into the meeting, I was exposed to the field of consciousness. I was exposed to the tribal wisdom of a group of men and women and other ways of identifying that I was not I was exposed to a group of people that embodied a tribal wisdom that said, we understand what this did for you. We understand how important that next line is. We understand that you have given away everything for this fake feeling of wholeness. But you don't have to do that 1 minute at a time, 1 nanosecond at a time. And if you don't, we can show you a way of wholeness that is beyond anything that you can comprehend. Now, they didn't say that. I walk into a meeting and suddenly I don't know what happens. This is all, in hindsight. But looking back on it, the central truth of my personality gets exposed in a meeting, and no doctor, no lawyer, no family member, no judge, no jury, no priest, no parliament could ever change that way of thinking. And yet you changed it in an hour and a half. I identified a depth with the people that were in that meeting. And the third person that talked at that meeting was a guy by the name of Butcher Joe. Now, I don't know how you stay clean without Butcher Joe, but it's possible. But Butcher Joe, you could always tell him, and he looked right through me, and after he told a little bit about his story, he looked right through me and he said, "You don't ever have to feel the way you feel about yourself ever again if you're willing to do the things I've done." And I bought the package right then. I knew that that man had hated himself as much as I hated myself at that instant, and he didn't hate himself anymore. And what happened? A miraculous thing happened at the end of that meeting. There were four guys that were going down to the beach to watch girls go by on roller skates and play cards. I was exposed to the spirituality of the 12 steps that very first afternoon. And they said to me, they brought me along as entertainment so they could have a good time. And they explained the program to me. And the program was simply this, that if if I have what they have, if I be alcoholic, if I be an addict, that that I'm toast, that it's never going to change. I want to remind you, I'm 24 years old at the time. the worst thing that could ever happen to somebody my age was to have to be without a substance. And they said to me, we don't drink, we don't use, we don't go with girls who do. What an order. I can't go through with it. But I got the first two down. The drink bone is connected to the drug bone. And I've never seen anybody successfully stay away that played either of those cards. And that they also told me that if I was willing to go to any lengths, that I would never have to pick up again. And I looked at him. I didn't believe him, but I nodded my head. And they talked about working the steps. Now, this was back before working the steps was a academic exercise. We were way too busy running around picking people up off the streets and off the corners and helping them shake it out and the big book was not the focus. But exemplifying the principles that are outlined in the book was absolutely the message that was carried to me. So I was asked to talk about the root of our problem. I hope you all get that I got what you got, or that maybe you have what I have. But so what's the root of my problem? It's this idea that I'm different. It's this idea that I'm separate from. This idea that you don't understand. This idea of exceptionalism. This idea that I need something outside of me, a person, a place, a substance, an amount of money, something to change the way I feel about myself because I don't feel connected. I don't feel connected. Now, there was a very, very wise man uh, by the name of Carl Jung who said that he believed that it was interesting that in Latin you used the same term for the highest experience a person can have and for the most depraving poison. He said the healthful formula then would become spiritus contra spiritum, the spirit of whatever against the spirit that is in the bottle, that is in the pipe, that is in the that fake spirit. This true unitive experience that I thought I had when I took that first drink, when I took that first line, drop that first this. All those were not true spiritual experiences because they did not have the indwelling aspect of it. They did not have the unitive aspect. Felt like it, but it wasn't. And how do we know it wasn't? Because it's not sustainable. Anything that I try to use that's outside of me to change the way I feel about myself ultimately will turn to dust in my hands. Because no person, place, thing, substance can can stand that kind of a squeeze. I'll just take the life right out of it. So if the problem is this feeling of separation, then the unitive experience is the solution. Now, there are a couple different ways that one can have the unitive experience. It can come as just a bolt, bang, and this happens, and it happens in the fellowships, um, not infrequently. It happens if one has an honest conversation with people that really understand. And it can also come with the education of the mind beyond mere rationalism. The education of the mind beyond mere rationalism. My favorite description of the power currently, I found once again in the doctor's opinion, of all places, where Silkworth talks about applying the powers of good beyond our synthetic knowledge. And I'd like to, our friend Steve L was here a little while ago, and I just want to say that Steve's, it's his anniversary this week, but his recovery is one of the great demonstrations of this application of the power of good. Now, for those of you who are new or when we're new, we come into the fellowships and we're looking around and we're going, how can this work? How can these people be so happy? What is it that's going on here? It's because these people have found a unitive experience that is sustainable day in, day out, week in, week out. And where does that sustenance come from? It comes not only from the application of this power of good, but more importantly, the transmission of it. The transmission of this power of good. And so what it is that we get to do is we get to have a unitive experience. And how does that happen? Many times, or no, not many times. There are all kinds of different ways to get clean, and and that's their affair. That's outside of what it is that we've got. we have our way of articulating it and doing things, but we have this methodology that's been given to us. We call it the steps. And this is a recipe that is not negotiable. If you want to quit for good and for all. And the methodology in itself is very, very simple, but nobody can do it for you. It has to come from within. And first is this admission that I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't have the ability. And I'm a mess. And the second part of the methodology is observational, really. That here I've come to a group of people that were exactly like I was that aren't like that anymore. I think I'll do that. I think I'll come to believe that their demonstration is more real than what I'm thinking. It's definitely better than how I'm living. And so the next part of it is that whatever it is they're doing, I'm going to go along with it. One of the things that's so interesting when you talk with people that are evaluating the 12 steps is that they think that the third step's got something to do with understanding, about having knowledge. I was fortunate enough to come in before in a time when people cared more about my survival than they did about how I felt. And they said, "Kid, you're such a mess. Why? All you have to do is turn your will and your life over to the care of anything that'll take it. It'll do a much better job than you've been able to." And then after doing that, well, how do I know what it is that I don't, I've been living in fantasy. I've been living in reality. I've been unreality. I've been totally devoid of any real character. I've been living amorally. So what's the next part of the methodology? To sit down and do a moral inventory. Now, I don't know about you nice people, but I've actually been around groups of folks that'll say, "Oh, welcome to the life-giving, program and all this stuff, but watch out for the inventory. It's really hard." Poppycock. Poppycock. Hard is stealing from your children. Hard is waking up with no criminal representation in jail. That's hard. Writing down a list of who you hate, you do this every night anyway. You just don't use a pencil and paper. There's nothing hard about it. The only thing that has to be on that first inventory is all the stuff that goes around and around and around and around in your head. That's what you write. And it's not that deep. I mean, remember, this program is written for alcoholics and addicts. We're about this deep. Okay. So we write this stuff out and then we actually have an honest conversation with somebody with a true believing mirror that says, "Yeah, I've been there. one of the reasons why the resistance to the methodology of the fellowship is that Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, we're the ultimate Me Too. We actually look each other in the eye and validate what it is that happened on many, many levels. So we do this. We find out that we are not the unique, we are not the separate. Back to what is the root of my problem? It's this idea of separation. So then what do you do about that? Well, number one, we got the 6 and 7 steps that says, look, I got a lot of problems, but I'm not going to let those problems overwhelm my desire, my intent, my commitment not to drink and not to use. And so we have this evolutionary thing in step 6 and 7, where as we become more and more aware, we deal with that, with those things as we become. Because in the beginning, we don't have a whole lot of emotional, intellectual, spiritual bandwidth. But as we grow, things that used to not be a problem may become a problem. And we become willing to address those things. And so, and then we come to the things that make the fellowship methodology fundamentally different than any other spiritual group in the world. So we know that we got these people, we made this list, and and we know who it is that we're never going to talk to again. So we got that, but but there are some people that maybe we're willing to make amends to, and we start in the process now. In just about every spiritual group in the world, they will talk about after a person dies or drops their body, I think is a much better way of looking at it. When they drop their body, they go through what's called a life review, where they actually are able to have some kind of an emotional experience of their life. And then many of these groups will say that the next time that one comes around and decides to come back to the amusement park, that we take the information from that and we apply it in the new life. In the fellowship, we do it incarnate. We do it in real time. We don't have to wait for another life. We get to clear the decks this go round. Which, when we look the people in the eye whose trust we violated, when we pay back the money, when we go and tell people, no, that really happened, and you're not crazy, I'm the one that initiated that. When you do that, see, it doesn't just, here's an example. I stole some money from one of my employers, and I came to him a bit later, and I said, look, I didn't come in and say, oh, I'm a recovering addict, and I need to do this in order to. I came in and I claimed the spiritual crime. I said, I was afraid. I wasn't getting enough work. I was not enough of a man to come to you and say, I'll wash the parking lot. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I stole money from you. I stole about 3 grand. Now here's $700, and I'll be back later. And this man looked at me like I'd hit him with a wet fish. He said, "I've been in this business for 40 years. I have fired hundreds of people for stealing from me. I knew one thing: people never change, but you've changed." And this man's whole way of looking at the world pivoted. Now, did that have anything to do with me? No, not really, not ultimately. And it's just in his spiritual evolution. But yet I was some small catalyst for that in demonstrating to him that there is the possibility for another life, that there is the possibility for people to ultimately change. And and so when we do this, it's not about us. It's not about, oh, I do the 9 steps so I will be released from alcohol and drugs and all that stuff. No, we do it because we fundamentally are able to change the world as we experience it and as others experience it by taking responsibility for our actions. And you can go any place in the world and you can get all kinds of wonderful information, all that stuff, but nobody will look at you and tell you, "Oh, no, 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 you got to go pay the money back." No, you got to go. You haven't talked to your mother in 25 years. I don't know about this, but I know Bernice, and Bernice had something similar happen. Why don't you go talk with her and find out about what really can happen in life? So from this, what happens is this veil gets lifted of self, of being apart from. We actually do something that draws us, that unifies us with the field. We've dropped the shields and we become part of the field. See, that experience that I had with that man in his office was the field that I was originally exposed to, was that big bang. And then we get to have this wonderful experience of growing along spiritual lines and growing along spiritual lines. Pray and meditate the way you drink and use. Just try stuff, see where you end up. It's a great thing. But all of that is not worth a whit unless it can be transferred. And what every woman and man on this call, in this fellowship, in these fellowships, has the opportunity to do is something beyond what any social agency, boss, family member, whatever, is demonstrate love at a level that is beyond compensation. This is when we work with others. The most powerful prayer I know is, "Send me an addict." And then going to the meeting looking for one that looks like the way that you used to felt and saying, "I used to be like that. Would you like to talk?" It's the kindness, not the spiritual power. And in that, what happens when you sit at the table and you go through the book, you go through the methodology in whatever way it's expressed, and you see the light come on in someone else's eyes. You see the moral regeneration. You see what they drank and used away become reignited as what happened with me. Then what happens is you have the true unitive experience. You have the true me too. And then when you see them pass it on to someone else, you know that you are part of something far greater than anything you can conceive of, anything that you could possibly understand. That you are part of. And the idea of separation is an illusion. And you know that no money, no relationship, no outside substance can ever give you what can be given by being a clean member of the Fellowship of Cocaine Anonymous. Active, involved, available for spirit to use to its purpose. Thank you.